We also have the highest rate of bladder and esophageal cancer in the country, and our children are getting sick at the highest rate from cancer in the country as well. And we have a pediatric cancer cluster on the seacoast. Most of these cancers could be avoided with stronger environmental protections. It's not pleasant to talk about this, but we have to talk about it in order to come to a solution for it. There's another problem. Our president has the ability to declare nuclear war by himself by hitting that red button. Do we want somebody that impulsive to be able to do that? No way. When women come to the table, we have a valuable and necessary perspective to bring to that discussion. We especially want to be at that table when important decisions about our bodies and our health care and our children are being made. With science and everything we value under attack, we must continue to encourage women to run for local, state, and federal offices. And we must turn the dialogue from hate to love. Yes.
Yes.
Women downplay their accomplishments and they get criticized for their hair, for their clothes, whether or not they can be a mom and elected official, while men mostly don't. We must support them before, during, and after their run. And when they maybe lose when they first try, tell them to brush themselves off and get back up and try again. We must grow a bench of women who can take a seat at the table, but at the head of the table.
Yes!
So let's move on to our speakers. We have, this is the third, as I said, annual Women's March. This Women's March is an empowering event supporting women's rights, human rights, social and environmental justice. It's hosted by several grassroots organizations, which I'll detail later. And let's get started with the first speaker. Our first speaker is Sharon Jones. She's from Portsmouth, civil rights leader. She grew up in Portsmouth with 4 other children and moved to LA in the 70s, where she studied voice and worked as lead singer with a jazz band. And she's returned to Portsmouth, where she continues to live her dream as a professional vocalist, storyteller, and lecturer. She's an active member of St. John's Episcopal Church and a recipient of the Ella Fitzgerald Achievement Award. Please welcome Sharon Jones.
Before I came out here this afternoon, I sat in popovers with a couple of young black ladies who, much younger than I, and I had a brief conversation with them, find out where they came in from, which they said Manchester, and I automatically said, what's the climate like there? Not weather climate, but racial climate. And they mentioned that they still felt the undercurrent. And that is one of the things that we have to work at around here. You got to get rid of that. No one should be locked out. You shouldn't feel like you're separate from the crowd. If you want to join the crowd, you should have the ability to do so and the wherewithal to do so, but you should never be eliminated from the crowd. So here's part of my story. Whenever I'm in doubt as to where to go when speaking in front of an audience of any sort, I always go back to my family roots. Being non-white in Portsmouth wasn't always easy back in the day. Yeah. I gotta put these glasses on, I almost forgot. I memorized the first line. I remember my father telling his family how alone he felt when he stepped off the train. He came to Portsmouth from Seneca Falls, New York, to take a position as a civil engineer at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. He came along first, and then he sent for his family. Together, my parents, the announcer said we had 4, but there were 13. Dropped down a couple of paces there. Together, my parents had 14 children. They lost 1 during childbirth, and they raised the 13 children here in Portsmouth, 3 boys and 10 girls. Having 10 girls was like having a women's march every day. I had the good fortune of being raised by extraordinary parents. The house was incredibly organized. We were taught strong family values, respect for one another, even when we didn't agree with each other. There was a sense of belonging, and we were made to feel safe, always. There was a huge dining room table where we all gathered to iron out disagreements, and if we didn't solve the issues during the first session, we went back the next day. It was demanded. We always came away from those meetings with a sense that we all had a hand in solving the problems. Now, why am I discussing family? Well, it's because that's where it all started for me. It's where I learned humility, how to balance, how to be kind, how to reach across the aisle. I learned that the manner in which you handle situations is paramount to the outcome of the situation. We must continue to raise our children to know how important this is. Racism has no place at the table. Anti-Semitism has no place at the table. Prejudice against gender has no place at the table. My family was like a democracy. Our country has to go back to being a democracy. Of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now you're probably wondering where the feel-good part of the story is. Well, here it is. As I look over this vast crowd today, it reminds me that time has an interesting way of walking us back to places, people, and the things that we were surrounded by early on in our lives. The city of Portsmouth has embraced a Black cultural center, the Black Heritage Trail, and an African American burying ground. Portsmouth is on the map now for everyone. The city has evolved into something much better than it was, excuse me, when I was growing up. There's an evidence that the climate has shifted due to the community that wanted to be better and wanted to do better. Mission accomplished. But however, there's always room for more change. And as long as we keep that foremost in our minds, it'll happen. Portsmouth has turned into a town that I'm proud to say that I was born and raised in. And we need to take this example of what we've done here in this city to Washington and show them how it's done. Thank you for listening. God bless you, all of you. God bless America.